New York was beautiful again. That was the first warning sign. Max didn't notice it right away. At first, the noise simply vanished. The subway stopped being a nuisance. Lines didn't make him angry. People didn't exhaust him. The city hadn't changed. The filter had. Morning. He opened his eyes before the alarm. Light filtered through the blinds just enough to guide, not blind. His body felt weightless. His head was clear. The phone lay nearby. He didn't reach for it immediately. That in itself was strange. After a few seconds, he picked it up. Zenith 2026. Balance $40,907.22. Max frowned. He blinked, refreshed the app. The balance remained. But below it, overnight growth plus 1.2%. He froze. What? He quickly opened the details. A graph. Smooth. Confident. No spikes. Perfect. Too perfect. But the numbers were real. Or at least they looked real. Coffee. The cafe was different. Not the one where he met Elina. Quieter. Brighter. More expensive. Max sat by the window scrolling through the screen. The graph. The balance. The notifications. Emotional index. Stable. Impulsive triggers. Suppressed. He took a sip. The coffee cost $7.50. Before, it would have annoyed him. Now, it didn't. Because he didn't feel like he was spending. He felt like he was managing. You're glowing. Max looked up. Elina. She sat across from him as if continuing a conversation that never ended. It works, he said. She looked at the screen. A brief glance. Unsurprised. Of course it does. She hesitated. My money is growing. Yes. How? She tilted her head slightly. Does it matter how? He thought about it. It took longer than it should have. It matters to me that it's stable. She smiled. Then you have everything you need. Closer. They were silent. But the silence wasn't awkward. It was dense. Max looked at her. Do you always work like this? He asked. How? With people. She considered this. No. Why? Because not everyone is ready. And me? She looked right through him. You were ready before we even met. Something in that answer stung. It wasn't a compliment. It was a diagnosis. Later. They walked down the street. Manhattan roared around them, but it was no longer chaos. It was background noise. Elina walked beside him, not touching, but the distance was minimal. Are you afraid? She asked. Max was surprised. Of what? Of losing this. He didn't answer. Because, yes, fear is also a signal, she said. But you are no longer obligated to react to it. She stopped, looked at him. You are beginning to understand that control is not an action. It is the absence of unnecessary actions. The wind picked up. It brought the cold, but Max barely felt it. Evening. The apartment. Window open. The city humming. Max sat with his laptop. Tabs open. Bank account, Zenith, the market. The numbers didn't add up, but they looked convincing. He caught himself thinking he wasn't even trying to verify them, and that was the strangest part of all. At the same time, Alex wasn't sleeping. Third hour. The monitor glowed in his face. Code, traffic, logs. Come on, come on. He ran another analysis. Nothing. Zenith didn't exist, but it was working. This is impossible. He stopped, and suddenly he understood. This isn't a service. He sat up straight. Damn it! The message! Max's phone vibrated. You have reached a stable level. Consolidation of assets is recommended. Below, a button. Merge accounts. Max stared at it. A long time. Too long. Later. He met Elina again, this time at her place. The apartment was almost empty. Minimalism. No personal items, no photos, no clutter. As if no one lived there. You don't keep anything extra, Max said. Extra creates noise, she replied. She moved closer. Again, that distance. On the edge. You are ready for the next step. He chuckled. Do you always know? Yes. Even now? She looked him in the eyes. Right now, you are doubting. He froze. But not the system, she added. Yourself. Silence. He took a step. Close the gap. And what do you do about that? Her voice dropped to a whisper. I remove the factor of uncertainty. For a second, their faces were too close, almost, but they didn't touch. Night. Max lay in the dark, phone on his chest. The screen glowed. Merge accounts. His finger hovered. He knew what it meant. All the money. Everything. He remembered Sarah, Alex, himself before all this. And suddenly, he realized he didn't want to go back. He pressed it. A second later, the screen. Consolidation complete. Balance $44,907.22. Max sat up abruptly. What? It was more than he had. Much more. His breathing quickened. This can't be. But the numbers were there. Real. Beautiful. Perfect. On the other side of town, Sarah stared at her screen. And for the first time, she didn't move. All of Max's accounts. Empty. Totally. She slowly closed her eyes. Too late. Elina. She looked at the panel. Max. Phase complete. Balance simulated. She wasn't smiling. She was just watching. You chose, she said softly, but her gaze lingered. And this time, just a little longer. New York was screaming as usual. But for Max, it wasn't noise anymore. It was just a background, like white noise in your headphones. It doesn't interfere. It hides. The morning. He didn't wake up alone. For a second, he didn't move, trying to remember. Then he felt it. Warmth. Elina was lying on her side, her back to him. Calm, motionless, as if she had been switched off. Max sat up slowly. He couldn't remember how she stayed. He remembered the evening, the wine, the conversation. After that, everything was a blur. Do you always fade from memory like this? He asked softly. Only when it doesn't matter, she answered, without opening her eyes. He froze. You're not sleeping? I am sleeping, she said, but you are already thinking. She turned over. Too close. That was the problem. The phone. The screen was already glowing. Zenith 2026. Balance $45,311.39. Growth 0.9%. Emotional index stable. Max swiped his finger across the glass. The graph was perfect. Too perfect. A thought suddenly flickered. He hadn't checked his actual bank account in how long? Days? A week? The thought flashed and vanished, as if it had been filtered out. The confrontation. Sarah didn't text. She just appeared outside his office. We need to talk, she said. The wind was biting. Reality tried to force its way back in. You transferred everything, she said. It wasn't a question. How did you? It doesn't matter, Sarah interrupted. What matters is that this isn't an investment. She held up a tablet. Logs, empty routes, dead ends. The money is gone, Max. No, I can see the balance. You see an interface. He shook his head. You just don't understand how it works. Sarah stopped. Something changed in her eyes. Not anger, coldness. No, she said quietly. It's you who doesn't understand. She isn't giving you control. She is removing you from the system. Max stepped back. You're exaggerating. Then, answer me, Sarah snapped. Where is your money? He opened his mouth and said nothing because he didn't know. The deep integration. Back in the apartment, it was dark. Elina was standing by the window, the city lights reflecting in the glass. Max approached her from behind. Sarah thinks it's a lie. Elina didn't turn around. And what do you think? I don't know. She turned slowly and stepped into his space. Then stop thinking, she whispered. Her hand touched his wrist. A light touch, but Max felt the tension drain away. It was as if someone had switched off his anxiety. You always return to it, she breathed, to control. Maybe control is an illusion, Max. The only question is who you allow to create it for you. Her grip tightened. And you have already chosen. She leaned in. Their lips almost touched. Almost. But she stopped him. Not yet, she whispered. Why? She looked at him with an expression that was finally, for the first time, not quite controlled. Because you aren't fully inside yet, and I don't like unfinished systems. The point of no return. Max sat alone. The phone was in his hand. The screen read, Deep integration available. The button, Activate, full access. He looked at it, and for the first time, he felt fear, real, deep. But as he pressed the screen, the fear didn't leave. It was simply recoded. Across town, Sarah was screaming into her phone. Alex, he can't hear me. We have to get him out. But the line went dead. Static filled her ears. In the apartment, the screen flickered one last time. Optimization complete. User migrated to the cloud. The room was empty. Only the faint hum of the city remained. New York was screaming, but Max was finally silent.